Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we'll be talking about the AFC South, what their records will be like at the end of 25, and what my predictions are for each of their games. This on another episode of... So first up in the AFC South, we have the Tennessee Titans. And in week one, the Titans traveled to play the Denver Broncos. And I think the Broncos are just better on both sides of the ball. I don't see the Titans winning this game, especially week one with a rookie quarterback. So the Broncos get the win. In week two, the Titans get to host the LA Rams. And unfortunately for the Titans, once again, they're going up against a better team when they are not ready to handle them yet. The Rams, of course, have a much better receiving core than anything the Titans have, on top of just being better at most positions. So I think the Rams get the win. In week three, the Titans host the Indianapolis Colts, and at home, I'll give the Titans the win. In week four, the Titans travel to play the Houston Texans, and unfortunately for the Titans, I think CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans will win this game. In week five, the Titans now get to travel to play the Arizona Cardinals, and out in Arizona, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals will be able to clean up against the Tennessee Titans. In week six, the Titans then get to travel to play the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'll give the Titans the win here. The Raiders aren't necessarily a great team themselves, and I think the Titans might, if Cam Ward lives up to what he's expected to be by this point in the year, he should be able to maybe outduel Geno Smith. In week seven, the Titans get to host the New England Patriots, and I think Drake May and that greatly improved Patriots team will get the win here. In week eight, the Titans get to travel to play the Indianapolis Colts, and I think they split the series. In week nine, the Titans get to host the LA Chargers, and I think the Chargers defense and offense will just roll over the Tennessee Titans. In week 10, the Titans get their bye. And in week 11, the Tennessee Titans get to host the Houston Texans. And I think they'll win this game and split the series with Houston. In week 12, the Titans now get to host the Seattle Seahawks. And I think the Sam Darnold Seahawks win out against the Tennessee Titans. In week 13, the Tennessee Titans then get to host the Jacksonville Jaguars. And at home, against the Jaguars team that is greatly depleted of talent, I think the Titans will get the win. In week 14, the Titans get to travel to play the Cleveland Browns, and I think they'll win this game. The Browns, I do not have a good feeling about them in 2025, and I think the Titans can pull out the win. In week 15, the Titans now get to travel to play the San Francisco 49ers, and unfortunately for the Titans, I have them losing. The Niners are coming off their bye week, and at least on paper, they're the better team. In week 16, the Titans get to host the Chiefs, and I don't think I need to describe why I think the Titans will lose this game. In week 17, the Titans get to host the New Orleans Saints, and even though I do think the Saints are going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, I think they'll win against the Titans here. And to finish out their season, the Tennessee Titans get to travel to play the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 18, and I think they lose. Unfortunately for the Titans, I just think they're going to have a bad season. So my record for them is 5-12. Next up in the AFC South, we have the Indianapolis Colts, and in week one, they get to host the Miami Dolphins. And I think they lose this game. I just don't have any faith in the Indianapolis Colts to actually have figured out their quarterback room by week one, so I feel like the Dolphins win here by default. In week two, the Colts get to host the Denver Broncos, and I think the Broncos win. The Broncos will have one of the best defenses in the NFL in 2025, and when the two quarterbacks that the Colts have that might be going up against them are both notoriously bad, I think that's a recipe for disaster for the Colts. In week three, the Colts get to travel to play the Tennessee Titans, and I think the Titans will win this game, like I said already. In week four, the Colts get to travel out to LA to play the Rams, and unfortunately for the Colts, I think the Rams win this game. They're just the better team here. In week five, the Colts get to host the Las Vegas Raiders, and I think the Raiders will win this game. I just don't have any faith in that Colts team to have consistent quarterback play. And even though the rest of the team is talented, I just don't have any faith in them overpowering teams as long as that other team has a better quarterback than whatever the Colts are putting out. In week 6, the Colts get to host the Arizona Cardinals, and I think Kyler Murray and the Cardinals get the win. In week 7, the Indianapolis Colts get to travel to play the LA Chargers, and I think the Colts will be 0-2 against LA-based teams this year. In week 8, the Colts get to host the Tennessee Titans, and I think they win this one and split the series. In week 9, the Colts travel to play the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think the Colts win this one too. Hopefully by this point in the year, they've figured out their quarterback position, and that allows the rest of that talented team to actually win games. In week 10, the Colts get to host the Atlanta Falcons, and I think they lose this game. The Falcons have a very talented roster, and I think that puts them over the top here. In week 11, the Colts now get their bye. And in week 12, the Colts get to travel to play the Kansas City Chiefs, which they're going to lose, even off their bye. It's just not going to be close. In week 13, the Colts get to host the Houston Texans, and at home, I think the Colts win. In week 14, the Colts get to travel to play the Jacksonville Jaguars in Duval, and I'm not sure if I have to explain why they'll lose this game, because they always lose this game. In week 15, the Colts now get to travel to play the Seattle Seahawks, and I think the Sam Darnold Seahawks will win this one. In week 16, I think the Colts pull an upset and beat the San Francisco 49ers in what I'm sure would be a very big surprise upset if it does indeed happen. In week 17, the Colts get to host the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think they split the series with them and win here. And in week 18, the Indianapolis Colts get to travel to play the Houston Texans, and I think they lose. So that will put the Colts with a record of 5-12. Next up in the AFC South, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, and in week 1, they get to host the Carolina Panthers, which I think they lose. I think the Panthers actually are going to be a decently good team this year. Maybe not playoff good, but like good enough that we're actually talking about them. And I think they started off early by beating the Jaguars. In week 2, Jacksonville gets to travel to play the Cincinnati Bengals, where they will likely get run over by that elite Bengals offense. In week 3, Jacksonville gets to host the Houston Texans, and I'll give them the win here. Jacksonville, while yes, they've been depleted of a lot of talent, I think they're still good enough to where they can win games like this. In week 4, Jacksonville gets to travel to play the San Francisco 49ers, and I think they lose this game. San Francisco is just better on both sides of the ball, so Jacksonville probably won't stand a chance. In week 5, the Jaguars get to host the Kansas City Chiefs, and unfortunately for the Jaguars, they're playing the Chiefs, which means they're going to lose. In week 6, the Jacksonville Jaguars get to host the Seattle Seahawks, and I think they get the win against the Seahawks at home. In week 7, the Jaguars then get to host the LA Rams, and I think they'll lose this one. In week 8, the Jaguars get their bye, and in week 9, the Jacksonville Jaguars get to travel to play the Las Vegas Raiders, which, coming off their bye, I think they can win this game. The Raiders have an interesting roster this year. I'm not sure I would call it a great roster. And I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, while maybe not being as talented as they have been in the past few seasons, are better than the Raiders in several key areas. In week 10, the Jaguars now get to travel to play the Houston Texans. And at home, I think the Texans will win. In week 11, the Jaguars get to host the LA Chargers. And I think the Jacksonville Jaguars will beat the Chargers at home and make the Chargers even more annoyed that they somehow blew a playoff game to this team. In week 12, the Jaguars will now get to travel to play the Arizona Cardinals. And while I think this game will be close, I think the Cardinals come out on top. In week 13, the Jaguars get to travel to play the Tennessee Titans. And at home, I think Tennessee gets the win. In week 14, the Jaguars get to host the Indianapolis Colts, and they always win this game, so they will win this time around also. In Week 15, the Jaguars get to host the New York Jets, which I also think they win. In Week 16, they get to travel to play the Denver Broncos, and I think the Broncos will beat up on the poor Jaguars. In Week 17, the Jaguars then get to travel to play the Indianapolis Colts, and I think they split the series here with them. And to finish out their season, the Jacksonville gets to get a win at home in Week 18 against the Tennessee Titans, giving them a record for the year of 7-10. And to finish out the AFC South, we have the Houston Texans. And in Week 1, the Texans travel to play the LA Rams in a game they will lose. Unfortunately for them, the Rams, I think, are just a better team on both sides of the ball and will beat up on them in Week 1. In Week 2, the Texans get to host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think the Buccaneers will win this game. In Week 3, the Texans now get to travel to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, and at home, I think the Jaguars get the win. In Week 4, the Texans get the first win of the season when they beat the Tennessee Titans at home. In Week 5, unfortunately for the Texans, they're going up against the Baltimore Ravens, and I think the Ravens will win this game. The Ravens are a juggernaut in the AFC, and their offense and defense should both be feared. In Week 6, the Houston Texans are on their bye, and in Week 7, the Texans, coming off their bye, get to travel to play the Seattle Seahawks, and I think they win this game. In Week 8, the Texans now get to host the San Francisco 49ers in a game I think they'll win. I think the Texans roster is talented enough to beat some of the really good teams in the NFL, and that includes the 49ers. In Week 9, the Texans then get to host the Denver Broncos, and I think the Broncos actually win this game. The reason why I think that is mostly because of the Broncos defense being really good last year and only getting better in the offseason, so I have to expect the Broncos defense will play a large part in preventing the Texans from winning this game. In Week 10, the Texans get to host the Jacksonville Jaguars in a game they'll win. And in Week 11, the Houston Texans get to travel to play the Tennessee Titans, who are at home coming off their bye, so I think the Texans will lose. In Week 12, the Texans get to host the Buffalo Bills, and I think the Texans will win this game in an upset that will probably cause some people to doubt the Bills for the rest of the season. In Week 13, the Texans get to travel to play the Indianapolis Colts, and I think the Texans will lose here. In Week 14, the Texans get to travel to play the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they win this game. I think they beat up on the Chiefs a little bit and prove that they are a playoff contender. In Week 15, the Texans get to host the Arizona Cardinals in a game they should win, and I expect them to. In Week 16, the Houston Texans get to host the Las Vegas Raiders, and I think they win this game. In Week 17, the Texans get to travel to play the LA Chargers, and unfortunately for them, I think the Chargers will win this game and get revenge for their embarrassing loss in the playoffs last year. And in Week 18, to finish out their season, the Houston Texans will get to host the Indianapolis Colts, and I think they win at home to finish the season, which means the Texans will end the year with a 9-8 record. So with that being said, guys, please like, share, subscribe down below. Tell me what you think, and I'll see you next time.